A very good morning to all of you. Can you hear me, everybody?
Yes, sir.
Yes, sir. Yes.
Yeah, very good. Today being the final day of this Vircon MassCon 2021, the first session of the morning, I welcome you all on behalf of the Maharashtra Ophthalmological Society and also the Scientific Committee on behalf of Dr. Ragini Parikh. I welcome you all. Today we have a star faculty with us. We have great speakers, the stalwarts in the cataract, Dr. Navneet Toshniwal sir, Dr. Shirish Tora, Dr. Vinod Arora, Dr. Sujata Mohan, Dr. Satanshu Mathur, and Dr. Mohan Rajan. Mohan Rajan is a good friend of mine, and Sujata, both are my classmates in Shankar Netralay. So let's start the session. It's definitely going to increase the richness of the program. First talk is with Dr. Navneet Toshniwal. He is the author of the book on phacoemulsification, and he's going to speak on perfect parameters for perfect surgery. Navneet, over to you.
Thank you, sir. Respected chairperson, co-chairperson, moderators, I thanks to the scientific committee chairman Ragini madam and all the team of the MOS to giving this opportunity. My talk is on a perfect parameters for perfect surgery. I am going to share my screen. Can you able to see, sir?
Yes, yes. Navneet, very nice.
Thank you, sir. Perfect parameters for perfect surgery is a different topic which I have selected this time because in the training program which I am doing since 18 years, after the last 2 days, the doctor always asks me, sir, now tell me how to set the parameters. What should be the parameters? So that's things came in my mind continuously, and that is the reason I am working very hard from 1 year on this topic, and I will just give the highlights. We will concentrate the nucleus management. To start with, there are 3 steps. The trench, suppose if we are doing hold and chop and removal of pieces. How to set these parameters for this step? Now in the trench in the center, deep in the center. So very simple thinking and strategy that energy is important part, first point. Second, in the periphery, energy should be used less and energy should be used more and deep in the center. And it should be the continuous energy. It should be linear. Sometime जरा आवाजाचा डिस्टर्ब होतोय सर शिरीष आवाजाचा फोन डिस्टर्ब होता so deep in the center and periphery it is a superficial. That's the concern of the energy in the step 1 trench. That's all. Now you can see the how we are using parameters. Now this is the second step, hold and chop. Now believe me, to start with this step, everybody feels difficulty. Yes, but how to set the parameters? Energy is only concerned to engage the nucleus. That's all. Most important parameter here is the vacuum. And that vacuum you can set according to the density of the nucleus. If it is normal grade of cataract, you can use around 200 to 250. It is sufficient. And most important part in the vacuum is you have to keep in a panel mode. Otherwise also, vacuum will build up when the piece get completely occluded. So the parameters in the hold and chop set the vacuum according to the consistency of the nucleus and in the panel mode. These are the gross points I'm telling and which will work in a 90% of the cases. What about the flow rate? Flow rate is important. Flow rate. Yes,
Navneet,
yes.
Sorry to disturb you. I'm getting calls say there is a lot of echoing going on. They're not able to listen on the YouTube. Can Sai take some steps to see that echoing goes off?
I really don't know. Shirish,
In not your side, I just got phone calls from two candidates who are seeing there is a lot of echoing. We are not able to hear anything.
Okay, sir. I'll call. Right.
so
No, sir. Please
भाई को
continue.
बोल के जरा करो ना, please.
can I stop right now for while?
Yeah, for a minute.
Okay, thank you.
I think Navin sir, you should continue. I'll just sort it out.
So can I continue?
Okay,
Yes.
continue करो चलो. I think थोड़ा 1-2 मिनट जाएगा, no issues.
No, sometimes Jignesh, if they have two what do you call systems in the same place, the echo is there. So make sure
Two
that
people
the-
called up here, so I was
Navin
wondering.
sir, please
what is
continue. I'll sort it out.
Yeah.
Continue, चलो.
So in hold and chop, what I have mentioned right now is the vacuum is the important and vacuum in a panel mode. Now what about the flow rate? Flow rate, many times you can keep it in a panel. That is very important, and that is just to keep the opposition of the nuclear piece to the FACO tip. So these two parameters are important. Energy is not very significant role in a hold and chop. Energy just to engage the nucleus. We can see it. You can see hold and chop, and these, if you will do the FACO surgery, now this is the most important step according to the me, is the removal of small pieces. All these three parameters are working together. Energy, vacuum, flow rate. Again, setting of the parameter related to vacuum, you can keep it in a panel mode, which I already mentioned that it built when tip get occlude. I'm talking about the peristaltic pump. Flow rate is a very important. If you will keep the flow rate in a panel, the surgery will be fast. If flow rate you will keep in a linear, safety will be more. So this is according to your knowledge of these parameters you can set. Most important point in a removal of piece and concern is the energy. Pulse energy is the very important. Now hyperpulse energy is the most important, which is inbuilt in all the FACO machine. In fact, whenever doctors are calling me which FACO machine I have to select, I just give one answer. You just check the energy parameters of that machine. What sorts of energy they have given in your machine, continuous, pulse, hyperpulse, and that is the most important to select the FACO machine also. In this step, all the three are together. You are keeping the short pulse. You can keep a long pulse. Short pulse means 50-second on time. Long pulse means 150 millisecond on time. Whatever on time you need, and all this is depend upon the consistency of the nucleus. Another very important point when you are using the energy at this mode, now if you are seeing here, I am in a center, the piece is completely occluded, you are allowed to use complete energy. But when the pieces are rotating and when the periphery will come, which is not very hard, you can control your energy by your foot pedal. So that is the art. How to use this energy, how to deliver this energy is depend upon your foot pedal control. So in nutshell, that whatever the parameters you will set, you do it. And second point is that this is the first is the setting of the parameter, and second point is that how to implement these parameters. These are the very, very important. And all these points I am going to mention in my fourth book, which I am releasing in an All India Ophthalmological Society conference, that is FACO machine and its application. We will get all complete idea about these parameters. Thank you very much for your patience hearing.
Thanks a lot, Navneet. Excellent as usual. You are the real teacher. I have always seen you. You give the practical tips. Now we have the second speaker. We'll have the question answers in case there is anything coming up in the chat later on. We have another stalwart here, our own dynamic secretary of Maharashtra Ophthalmological Society. I mean the immediate past secretary. He is going to speak on cataract surgery in complex situations. Dr. Shirish Thorat.
Thank you, Daswala sir, for your kind introduction. Respected chairperson, moderator, convener, and respected Chairman Scientific Committee MOS, Dr. Ragini Madam. Good morning to one and all. Cataract surgery in complex situations. These are not very complicated cases, but certainly need some preoperative planning. We'll discuss 3-4 cases. Right from case 1, this is a case of coloboma, around 4 degrees of zonular abscence. So what is our preoperative planning? Like either use CTR plus 3-piece lens or support the bag with the scleral supporter devices, or intraoperative capsular hook application and then support the bag as it demands. Now, how I manage this case? Always stain the rhexis beautifully, because rhexis is most important part in such cases. Always start 180 degree away from the area of zonular dialysis and go slowly. I usually prefer forceps, or you can use needle also. Go very slowly and make a small rhexis toward the area of zonular dialysis. And once this area get over, purposefully decenter your rhexis toward the area of the strong zonules. So at the end, when you are going to pull the bag, it will come in the center. Now, side port and application of capsular hook. This is the most useful device to have in anybody's OT. It is very pliable, flexible. It will act as an artificial zonule and support the bag intraoperatively very nicely. A slow motion phaco with reduced parameter around 30% should be used. Don't allow any piece to go in the dangerous area. Remove all the pieces from that area, or it will merge into vitreous. Once it is done, the most important is the direction of eye. You should go toward the area of the zonular dialysis so that it won't stretch off the dialysis zonules. Once it is done, go slowly. And once it is done, your bag is free to implant. Either you use scleral supporting devices at this time. I thought of using CTR first and then to modify accordingly. After removal of hooks, I'm trying to stabilize the bag with the CTR itself. 11-13 was the size. Go toward the area of loose zonules. Always support it with the hooks through side port. Take out all the forces on the Sinskey's hook and gently guide it into the bag. Once it is done, look for any vitreous if it is there. Just cut 1-2 fibers of vitreous with the vitractor. Now your area is clear. Most important part is to enlarge the rhexis. Now you just see the movement. I'm just pulling it on the opposite side to get it done. You can see I'm pulling rhexis on opposite side and it is going towards the center. So knowledge of forces on the capsular bag, you must know. 3-piece IOL is being injected into the sulcus with the optic capture. So my pearls for this case, proper visualization of the rhexis is must. Always start rhexis away from the area of subluxation. Leading edge of CTR should go toward the area of dialysis. Be prepared with all devices and use right device at right time. Now moving to case 2, that is post-RK case. Around 18 to 20 cuts are there. Just find out the area of maximum separation, because you need at least 2 millimeter to 2.4 millimeter area to get instrument in. I choose 2 areas where I can accommodate my eye. This is the most important step. Ideally, one should go with a scleral incision. Slow motion phaco with good viscoelastic is must. Routine eye is done. And now implantation of the IOL. Now you just see it. The RK cut is getting opened up. So this is mistake I have done. I should have gone sclerally. Once it is done, You just stabilize the anterior chamber. Take a horizontal suture. See to it that there should be no leakage at the end, and case is finished. So my pulse for this case is think of a scleral incision always. Always look for a proper incision site. Use good viscoelastics, gentle phaco. Always think of taking suture if there is a slightest doubt of leakage. Now moving to third case, this is a case of trauma. An 11-year-old girl with a history of trauma and hypema. Hypema, full chamber hypema was there. Hypema got reduced, but she developed secondary glaucoma and staining of the cornea. After some time, I have given AC wash to clear up the hypema, but cataract was there. Cataract with hydrodialysis with all fibrous capsule. In such cases, while starting of the case, just protect your iris from getting inside the phaco probe. Anterocapsular fibrosis sometimes leads the extension of the capsule toward the periphery. So take help of Vahanas. Gentle movement of your instrument is must. Removal of cataract is not a very big deal. Don't allow your AC to collapse. Now this is fibrous posterior capsule. I am doing primary posterior capsulotomy, because these cases are very difficult to tackle with the YAG capsulotomy afterwards, because it is very thick fibrous capsule and 3-piece IOL is being injected into the sulcus with the optic capture. Now most important part is to suture the iris. Scleral tunnel is made. This moment is very important. Take the tissue of the iris over the needle. Don't push the needle toward the iris, otherwise it causes unnecessary dialysis. With rail loading technique, take out the suture from the scleral pocket. 2 sutures are being taken. AC wash is given. And at the end, the sutured iris is taken into the scleral pocket and case is finished. So these are pre-operative picture, some intraoperative and post-operative picture of the same patient. So prevent iris from getting into the phaco probe. Careful rhexis of capsular fibrosis. Do not push the iris away from the area of dialysis and always bury the knot. No, sir, can I share, 30 seconds of this thing?
Yeah, please.
I'll just share my technique for hard cataract for a minute. For very hard cataract, I don't use any device, chopper or any pre-chopper. With the big size of rhexis around 5.5 to 6 millimeter, I just chop it to mid periphery. So this is actually a flower petal technique. So crack is going not very deep, midway. This is just to separate the central shell of the nucleus, hardest part of nucleus, from rest of the part. So now you can see it is like a flower petal. And once it is done, the central part of the hardcore nucleus is getting separated. And this shell, just watch the movement. I am removing the hardest part of the shell, which under good viscoelastic, you can easily emulsify, and half of the job is done. Once it is done, the rest of part is very easy. You can do your surgery like routine case. Thank you, sir.
Thanks a lot, Shirish. Very difficult steps you have shown in such a simple manner. We are really honored to have you as the speaker. The next talk, I think, we'll have Dr. Vinod Arora, sir. 25 ways to maximize your cataract outcomes. He's a prolific cataract surgeon. Vinod Arora, sir.
Yeah. Good morning to all.
Good morning, Vinod Arora, sir.
Good morning, ma'am. Thank you
Good
for giving me
morning. Thank
opportunity.
you for, no, sir, your family. Thank you. Good morning, Taswala, sir.
Good morning.
Good morning, Navneet. So,
Morning, good morning,
I'm
Navneet.
sorry I interrupted, but Sirish has worked the whole year and for this conference so hard. He never leaves Muscati Hall and he has coordinated, and I think he has worked so hard, the hardest with Swapnesh and Sumit to make this conference, and the last year around 44 CME is a big success. So, I just wanted to thank Sirish and all of you for being here. Thank you so much.
Thank you, ma'am.
Dr.
Thank
As
Arora,
always.
sir, you
Thank
are
you,
my
Ragini.
brother. We are family.
Yeah, I know. I thank you so
Wonderful,
much for
wonderful.
inviting me here.
Vinod.
Yeah.
Yeah, Vinod, sir.
Hi, good morning.
Good morning.
So, can I start?
Yes, please.
Thank you. So it's basically 25 ways to maximize your cataract outcome. I think most of us are already using it, but it's just a revision of all the things. So we have to understand that not every cataract needs to be moved. We have to select the right patient selection. What is his lifestyle? His job profile. Suppose a driver may require very early cataract surgery. If house lady maybe not require that too early. It depends on the job profile, what she's doing. We have to look for what we are going to do in that case particularly. So consider visual needs of the patient and expectation. That's very, very important before going to surgery. Counseling, always under promise. It has been taught to us all the time, but we all do it. Always under promise. Don't give him a big hope or big expectations. We have to look for the risk factors and to rule out them. Is there any risk factor involved or not? There are some special consideration for getting a satisfied patient. Do not ignore OCT. It should be done routinely in all preoperative patients, whether the patient is paying or not. Because once you have an OCT, your running cost is not that too high per patient, but you have to do in every patient if you're going to have a good outcome. Then endothelial cell count is again very, very important. If you don't have a endothelial cell count with this, you can use a good slit lamp, and there are techniques to see how you can see the endothelial cells there also. Then ocular surface is probably the most important thing, which often overlooked, and especially in the premium IOLs, it's very, very important. And topography is again important if you're going to go have a toric IOL, and it helps a lot in decision making. Of course, you can do it without it, but it helps a lot in tricky situations. Then coming to the ocular surface, look for ocular surface disease and treat it before finalizing the measurements. So if there is any problem there, you have to treat it first. We have to wait for some time. Once the ocular surface is normal, we can use mild steroid, we can use lipid. And then once the surface is stabilized, only then we go for surgery. Then coming to the EBD, consider treating any epithelial basement membrane dystrophy before performing the surgery. EBD can impact the measured shape of the cornea, can therefore impact the prospective results. If the surface is too regular, then epithelial debridement should be done, or you can do a PTK on that surface to get a regular surface. Wait at least for 2 months before going for cataract surgery. Then retinal examination is often overlooked by anterior segment surgeon. We have to have a detailed, perform a careful preoperative retinal examination and take steps to minimize the risk of CME. If there is a pre-existing lattice degeneration, there is a maculopathy, if there is a vitreoretinal degeneration or a retinal tear or hole, we have to look for all them. If the CME, the cause may be epiretinal membrane, a history of retinal vascular occlusion may be there, diabetic retinopathy or uveitis, these patients are going to have CME. So we have to be pre-prepared for them. Then NSAIDs 3 days prior to cataract surgery should be used to avoid CME. Then come the question of IOL. So we have to choose the right IOL for a particular patient. We have to remember that one IOL does not fit to all. If multiple technologies are used to measure astigmatism, make sure they agree. Often we get what we see, the K reading is getting different, axis is getting different in different instruments. If you're look for the ocular surface first. If it is regular, then you see whether your instruments are calibrated well or not. It is often we got the instrument and we just forget to recheck it with a phantom or other things. So we have to recalibrate from time to time. If variation persists, look for ocular surface. And just I told you, one IOL does not fit at all to all. Look for need of the patient, a sphericity of the cornea. And if there are comorbidities, if there's a diabetic retinopathy is there, we are not going to put a multifocal in that. If there is a patient gone for LASIK, we have to look for the negative spheric or spheric patient, depending on the type of laser. Then few patients are ideal candidate for spherical lens too. The latest may not be always the best. So be judicious, choose a proper IOL for the particular patient. IOL formula, I'll not go in detail, but we have a lot of IOL formulas and most of us follow it depending on the axial length, then depending on the myopic refractive surgery. Then popular one are the Barrett Universal and Hill RBF. These are very, very good formulas and practically covers almost all the aspects of IOL calculation. Then take posterior corneal astigmatism into account. Posterior surface of the cornea is about 0.25 diopter against the rule astigmatism. Get neutralized by temporal incision, but not with superior incisions. With newer IOL Master 700 measures both anterior and posterior corneal surface. So we get a true K, not on the assumption of that. So these optical biometers have changed a lot and our calculations have gone very, very good. If the patient is LASIK, suppose a myopic LASIK has been done, so choose a negative aspherical IOL, like a Technis one short something where the asphericity is the maximum. If patient has gone under hyperopic LASIK, then choose spherical LASIK IOL for that patient. So there's an indication where you can use a spherical over a spheric. Then total keratometry, we know we can get in Barrett 2K, then Evo TK is there, Haggis TK is there. For hyperopic, Barrett 2K works very, very well. Now coming to the risk factor, if there is a small hyperopic eye, if there is a large myopic eyes, if there is a big bag, very steep or flat case, shallow anterior chamber depth, there is a prior history of refractive surgery or keratoplasty, this is going to be in a big way. Now we are getting large number of LASIK patients who has gone under RK or LASIK or these patients, then vitrectomized eyes, corneal ectasia, contact lens users. We have to give a sufficient gap for contact lens user to avoid the warpage. If a patient is using soft contact lenses, get at least 3 to 4 days. I give 1 week. For GP lenses, I give minimum 3 weeks before doing a IOL calculation. Then this is again very important for the beginners. We have to remember that no incision is refractive neutral incision. Once you are touching cornea, it's going to cause some astigmatism. So calculate your SIA. It may be from 0.1 to 0.75D in phaco. For consistency, do not change your site of incision. If you are going to use toric lenses, either you know a steep axis, but for toric lenses, don't change your axis or anything. And personalize your own A constant. That is again very, very important for all the new surgeons. Then if there is a refractive surprise in spite of all the things, we have a variety of options. We can do the IOL exchange, we can do the laser vision correction, we can do the piggyback. Myopia gives best result with laser vision correction. If there is a hyperopia, piggyback IOL or IOL exchange give better correction. For astigmatism, piggyback or LVC. Look for elevated intraocular pressure. If pressure can rise, be confirmed. Less particles, if there are during the surgery or retained viscoelastic is there, it's common in immediate postoperative period, managed with pressure lowering drops. So always check pressure of your patient in the follow-up. Rhexis is again very, very important. It should be central, continuous, overlapping, and for better refractive stability. Femto or Zepto has helped us a lot, but with practice, we can do a very good CC ourselves. So be aware of the possibility of CME. The best treatment of CME is prevention, a careful examination for the retinal conditions. Then if there is a vitreous loss, and if there is a CME, we have to restart or increase the anti-inflammatory medications in these cases. So what can do if we did a very good surgery, but the patient is unhappy? For astigmatism, we should use a microincision or on the axis incision. If there is a pre-existing, just last slide. For pre-existing astigmatism, toric IOL should be used. For glass-free, we have a lot of choices, trifocals, ADF, toric IOLs. And if the refraction is changing, CCG should be good. It will avoid changing refraction of your patient in a post-op period. Then refractive surprises I've just covered, it can be managed. Then inflammatory consequences, NSAIDs are very, very important. For PCO, good polishing is important. For comorbidities, OCTs, again, very, very important. And we have to do good counseling in these patients like diabetes or any retinal pathology, we have to explain them well. Communication is again the most or often neglected part. So if we have to tell the patient clearly and we have to be honest with patient, if we are sincere, patient is not going to complain too much. Thank you. Thank you so much.
So nicely covered, Vinod Arora, sir, befitting your position as the president of IISI, and the tips that you have given For the newcomers, it's going to be a real reward. And for the people who are already doing it, it will be a game changer for them too. Thank you very much, sir.
Thank you.
Mohan, is Sujata, for Sujata, you're going to present in this place?
No.
So we have your talks directly then, because Satanshu is not there.
Okay, then shall I share my screen?
Yeah.
Okay.
Dr. Mohan Rajan is a good friend of mine. He is the president of the Tamil Nadu Ophthalmic Association, a dynamic surgeon, a good teacher, and a very good human at heart. Today, he is going to talk on rock hard cataracts, top 10 pearls. Mohan, over to you.
Thank you, Jignesh. Wish you all the very best for your fantastic tenure.
Yeah, you too.
Of the mosque. And thank you, Ragini, Lakhane sir, and all the people. And it's always a pleasure coming to MOSCON every year. And I miss the physical meetings as well. So we have had some very good talks, but I'm going to talk to you on what are the top 10 pearls as far as the rock hard cataracts are concerned. These are my financial interests. If you see a cataract like this, then it's like a piece of granite inside the eye. You can see that. Okay, it's a very rock hard cataract. Many people will do ECC or SICS, but you can get away with phaco with a clear cornea. But if you have to follow these protocols, what are the first number one protocol is do a specular microscopy. Vinod mentioned that grading of the nucleus is very important. The dilatation of pupil is also very important. The age of the patient is very important. The older the age, the more likely to be harder, and also the zonules are likely to be weaker. The posterior capsule is also fragile. Please understand this very, very important. So do a specular microscopy. If the cornea is sick, then you can probably consider ECC or an SICS. And hard broad, these are the challenge. Okay, the challenge is difficult to crack the nucleus because of the posterior nuclear plate. There are leathery attachments, thin posterior capsule, large nucleus, poor or no cortical cushion, increased incidence of corneal edema and postoperative corneal decompensation, increase in the PCR and nucleus drop. Combine the technology and the technique. The technology is available to you in the form of various machines now. The vertical chop, the sharp chopper is what I use, and there's a Mohan Rajan chopper which is made by the Appaswamy. We do a conventional divide and conquer and the stop and chop. It will take not only a lot of surgical time, but also a lot of phaco energy being released in the anterior chamber. You'll end up in a corneal burn like this. We know the consequences of a corneal burn: irregular astigmatism, wound gaping, infection, endophthalmitis, and all these problems. And very difficult to. So you can have a corneal edema which may clear up, not clear up, take a couple of months to even clear up. The problem with the corneal edema can be associated with increase in of cystoid macular edema as well, and something like a task that is called the fibrin reaction on the surface of the eye wall in the anterior chamber as well. So all these. Number two is peribulbar, parabulbar anesthesia. Please understand, this is going to be a little more prolonged surgery. You don't want an uncomfortable patient, making the surgery also for you uncomfortable. So do it under peribulbar anesthesia, or if the patient has got, you can do a subtenon anesthesia as well. And always use trypan blue, even with the cataract is not mature. Why trypan blue? Because you want a bigger rhexis, 5.5, 5.75, because they'll give you more space, because these nucleus, there's a very, very large nucleus. These cataracts are very, very thick. They're as thick as about 5 to 6 millimeter as well. The nucleus is large, 8 to 10 millimeter as well. So if you do the rhexis, you know exactly where your chopper is doing your chopping. So be careful in doing hydrodissection. So don't be very aggressive, because especially when you have a small rhexis and a huge cataract like this, you can see the hydro thing, and as soon as my assistant puts the viscoelastic on the cornea, and the nucleus disappears into the vitreous cavity, because there has been a hydro rupture, because these nucleus, we have to be very, very careful. There can be capsular blowout. High phaco power is another important thing, 80 to 100%. Normal this thing is to use less phaco power. Use less phaco power every time you do a trench, you will push the nucleus and produce zonules, zonular weakness, which is already weak, and make it further weak as well. So high phaco power, because it's like using a very sharp knife to stab somebody in the abdomen. So high phaco power, go all the way down to do a trenching, and also expose the phaco tip very nicely. Okay, the exposure of the phaco tip, you can use a 30 degree. I use normally a 15 degree because I do more of chopping. You can use a 30 degree because it gives a good cutting as well. So, but expose the tip of the phaco tip, very, very important. Vertical chop or the karate chop, because you can't do horizontal chop. Horizontal chop, you have to go underneath the rhexis and come from the equator. That can be done in grade 2, grade 3 cataracts on this cortical cushion. It's a blind technique. Whereas vertical chop, you are doing the chopping right in front of the rhexis margin. And I use my chopper. The length of the chopper is 1.5, 1.75, 2 millimeter. Black cataracts, I use 2 millimeter. For the brown cataracts, I use a 1.75 millimeter. You can see this is 1.5, 1.75. It's long and sharp. It will be a little scary under the microscope, but works wonderfully like magic as well. You can see here, this is a technique which a device is called the Quick Chop Express. And you can see here, everything happens very soon. You can use whatever machine. I use the Stellaris, the Venturi system, because the Venturi system gives me better control. Because all the Venturi systems behave like peristaltic. All the peristaltic systems nowadays behave like Venturi as well. All the machines are more or less the same because they got all the features as well. They got excellent fluidics, excellent chamber stability. They have the micropulse, the hyperpulse, or whatever it is. You can see that the most important thing is the first chop. Okay, hold the nucleus very well and then chop the casing, and you can see the nucleus, the chopper works like magic. And it's very important that your left hand works much better. You need to be bimanual, ambidextrous. You can see here I'm chopping, I'm going bevel down. You can go bevel down, bevel sideways, bevel down because I want better, faster occlusion as well. You can see here I'm doing that chopping and going all the way down. All the way down in the sense that you need to make sure that the posterior nuclear plate is opened up. Otherwise, you'll end up in a nucleus which is very, very big into the anterior chamber, and you'll have a white cornea the very next day. You can see this is a little more harder cataract than the previous one. These are the parameters I use on a Stellaris PC machine. 60% phaco power, 450 to 600 millimeters on the dual linear duty cycle of about 40%. As you know, duty cycle is the on plus off time divided by the on time. And Navneet was mentioning that in his talk as well. Pulse is about 90 pulses or 100 pulses per second, and which is, you can go up till even 120, 140 in the Signature Pro, the White Star. Whatever your machine is very important. You can make a small trench, and then I can see here, I'm chopping that. I'm chopping, you can see the chopping right in front of the rhexis margin. I have 2 more minutes. I don't know why they have given a signal there. Okay, you can see the chopper is going all the way down, and the chop is going all the way down and separating the thing. And since the chopper is very, very sharp and long, it opens up the nuclear plate, posterior nuclear plate, without any problem as well. And once you do that, then the rest is you can actually close your eyes and operate. You can see here, you can see, open it up and nicely. And then the endonucleus also comes along. You can see how the endonucleus also comes along. And then you can go ahead and use the dual linear or whatever you're comfortable with. And rest is very, very easy for you to take it off. Because there's no epinucleus in this case. Nucleus and more nucleus, there's no cortex. And sometimes you can do what is called these things. This is a black cataract, a cataract Niagara. You can see I'm using a bigger trench for that because I don't want to go all the way down. And then I'm using this thing. Many of you would have done the ECC or SSCS, but you can get away with this phaco because provided you follow all these protocols very, very religiously. You can see I'm chopping all the way down. The chopper works like magic. And I'm using a thing. Make sure the chopper is directed towards the optic nerve and don't tilt the chopper. Keep the chopper right there near the phaco tip and open it up very nicely. So chop vertically down and then separate. And then you can see here, there's a good space for you. Once you remove one part of the nucleus, then there's a good space for you in the anterior. Don't try to bring the whole nucleus into the anterior chamber. You will end up in a white cornea. Hyperpulse or micropulse, which is available in all the machines nowadays, is a cold phaco technology. You can see here, this hyperpulse is very, very easy. You can see how the hyperpulse works. And because of the, during the on time, it cuts the cataract. And also during the off time, it pulls the tip and sucks the nucleus bit into the thing also. This is just to show you the hyperpulse amount of phaco energy which is very less. I'll take another 30 seconds.
Yeah, you can continue.
Introduce Viscoat. Okay, I don't have any financial interest. Viscoat is made by Appasamy, Aurolab, all the Indian companies as well. Introduce now and then Viscoat. It will take a little more time, but now and then introduce Viscoat into the anterior chamber because the flying pieces can touch the endothelium and can end up in a cornea, which is endothelium damage to the corneal endothelium as well. Nowadays, you introduce Viscoat and you can have a clear cornea. These are the ways the viscoelastic you can play around with. You can see consistently clear corneas, pristine wound, all after the phacoemulsification in hard cataracts. Nowadays, we have the access to the femto catalyst. I have access to the femto. Many of them must have it. It makes life easy because you have the pre-cut nucleus. When you have a pre-cut nucleus, the Rexis is also there, whatever size you want, 5.1, 5.3, 5.5, whatever size you want. And you can see here the amount of the, what you call this lateral separation I'm doing is very, very little because already it's chopped all the way. The very fact that the gas bubbles are coming from the posterior aspect means that the posterior nuclear plate is opened up. So the amount of phaco energy I'm using is only about 30% of what I normally use. So the top 10 is group preoperative assessment, peribulbar, parabulbar anesthesia, Rexis with trypan blue, minimal hydrodissection, high phaco power, expose the tip, vertical chop, hyperpulse or the cold phaco technique, the viscode through the side port, the peritoneal endothelium, and of course you have access to the femto, will make the quick chop express and phaco emulsification easy, effective, and enjoyable for all of us. Thank you again, MOSCON, for the wonderful opportunity.
Fantastic, Mohan. As usual, you are absolutely perfectionist, I would say. Now
you,
that we
thank
have time, I think Dr. Satanshu Mathur is not there, and I think Sujata is also ill. We wish her a very speedy recovery. In the meantime, can we have a discussion if you all agree? We have about 10 minutes more. So, a question to Mohan, to you. Sirish had shown a series of 3 cases, difficult cases. How would you, all of you as a panelist, first to you and then Dr. Vinod Agarwal, and how would you go about it in a different way?
No, first of all, I have to compliment Sirish for the wonderful video. Sirish, really fantastic. And I especially learned, and I think I would have done exactly the same thing, especially the subluxation you showed is beautiful. Only thing is, I would have done the vitreous in the beginning. Okay, the vitrectomy in the beginning. The reason why I want to do the vitrectomy in the beginning is, as soon as before I open the Rexis, I just put a tricot there and remove the vitreous, because during the manipulation, okay, during the Rexis or during the phaco or during putting the capsular hooks in the zinc, you can touch, you can disturb the vitreous, and every time you please understand, you disturb that vitreous, you damage the vitreous, you are putting traction on the vitreous base, and postoperatively all these patients can have this problem. So in the beginning itself, I put tricot in the anterior chamber and do a minimal anterior vitrectomy, remove the vitreous which is there, and then go ahead. All other steps are fantastic, and it's really very this thing. And of course, you have given the flower petal pattern for heart cataract. I tried that. The problem with the flower petal pattern is that sometimes the whole nucleus can start coming into the anterior chamber or into iris plane, and you can have a thing. That's the problem. But if it do open the posterior nuclear plate with a sharp chopper, then you try to make these pieces as small as possible. That's why I prefer the femto, because I have the octants for that. That is the 8 pieces I have in the Catalyst machine, which makes it even smaller and smaller. If you have smaller and smaller, then it's easier to remove as well. These are my tips. Yeah.
So
Actually,
nice
sir, I did the same thing. I have put up the tricot in the beginning, but vitreous was not there. Even while doing the vitrectomy, I just confirming whether there is vitreous or not. But vitreous was not there. These are all viscous fibers. So usually I do a vitrectomy first.
See, even if the vitreous is not there, because subluxation, there can be vitreous which is going.
Yes.
So just in the initial phase itself, you make sure that you take care of the vitreous before proceeding.
Yes, sir. Yes.
Otherwise, fantastic, Sirish. Fantastic.
Yes, Sirish is a really very, very good surgeon. Very nice tips he has given. And Mohan, you also shared excellent tips. Vinod Arora sir, on the same count, your tips for anything different?
I think this is a very excellent way Dr. Mohan Rajan has shown, and nothing else has to be added on it. The thing is, one has to be very calm and quiet. One has to assess the situation and do accordingly. So there are many ways to do it. One is that terminal chop is also there, where peripheral chopping is done. I think this is a bit risky, where you require a bigger access. But this horizontal chopping makes the things much, much easier. I fully agree with Mohan Rajan on that.
Mohan sir, which is a favorite, device of scleral fiction of yours? Subluxated cataract, like Schiavone ring or Asia Anchor. So I found Asia Anchor very easy.
I'm not using Asia Anchor. I use a Schiavone ring. Otherwise, I use Ahmed segment. So, this is what I use normally. And this Ahmed segment is even made by Madhu Instruments now, and I'm using that regularly. But Asia Anchor I've not used, as said, but I've spoke to Asia also. It is very pretty, looks pretty good. And
I use it 10 to 12 times. It is very easy to use. The beauty of the instrument is the uniplanar.
yes,
And it won't touch the iris on, the epithelial side.
absolutely. I
And
think
2.8, you can have a insertion through 2.8 or 3 mm.
yes, you can go through the main port, and it works very well. I'm sure. Yes.
Dr. Vinod Arora, sir, a very good 25 tips you have.
Vignesh,
Sorry.
Jignesh, I just wanted to say one important thing is
Yeah.
whatever you are comfortable, okay?
Yes.
I'm telling this in all the conferences, okay? Just because Mohan Rajan is telling, Jignesh is telling something, I am comfortable with this. Whatever you are comfortable,
Yes.
in your hands it works very well. Ultimately, you will deliver the best. That's all. That's what everybody wants. So for you, the Asia Anchor may work well. For me, the Sioni works well. For Jignesh or Vinod, something else, the Ahmed segment may work well. Whatever your comfort, what are you used to, you can do that. So all are more or less the same, I would say.
So take home message is don't secret adrenaline unnecessarily.
That's important.
Don't secret adrenaline unnecessarily. This is
Yes,
the take home
yes. I mean, don't increase your BP. That is what
No,
is trying
Vinod
to
beautifully
say. Yeah.
mentioned, no, that's, you have to be calm. You have to be
Yes.
calm while doing surgery. That is why I'm telling you, many people do under topical anesthesia. The topical problem is, normally if it takes about 4 to 5 minutes for a normal cataract, these patients will take about 10 minutes. The patient starts becomes uncooperative on the table because of pain, prolonged surgery. Then the iris will start coming out, the intraocular pressure can go up, and it becomes a little messy. So give a peribulbar block or a parabulbar if the patient has got more than 24 millimeter axial length. Subtenon anesthesia works wonderfully well. Make the patient comfortable, make the patient, or even given midazolam, and you are also comfortable, the patient is also comfortable, and that's what I do.
Yes.
I think the patient has to be also calm besides
Yes,
surgeon.
Yes.
And I just give a subconjunctival anesthetic that works very
That's
well.
right. Anything subtenon, yes, subtenon conjunctival works.
Just a word from each of the panelists about the capsular support devices. When do you use it? Which type to use? As Mohan Rajan did say, कि Baba, if you are comfortable with XYZ device, but there are certain indications where we use the Sionis ring, where we use a CTR, and a specific indication we need to use certain capsular support devices. So tips from each one of you.
Sir, if access is already extended, there is, no question of using CTR.
Correct.
Yes. So scleral fixation device, using, capsular hook, initially, I found it very useful because you don't know the, further steps intraoperatively. So secure the bag with capsular hook first, which will act like an artificial zonules. Complete your surgery, and at the end, take the call. So whatever the position is, just according to situation, you just use the, the scleral fixation device.
Absolutely. Absolutely.
Mohan, I would just like to say, if there is a subluxation, and before putting the phaco, you people try to put it, or you would like to put it afterwards. That is the query a lot of freshers have in their mind.
No. Once you
How
do
do
the
you decide?
what I do is once I do the rexis, okay? Once I do the rexis, I put a capsular hook, or you can even use iris hooks. Only thing is, don't give too much of pressure, because iris hooks rest on the capsular rexis margin. They're likely to tear the margin. Capsular hooks is what Sirish told is probably the best in the beginning itself, okay? And then go ahead with the phaco, right? And then decide at the end of this thing, after removal of the cortex, or before the removal of whatever it is, at the end of it, you decide whether to put a CTR or a Sioni or a Ahmed segment or whatever it is, depending on the amount of clock hours of the subluxation. If it's more than 3 to 4, then clock hours, then I would prefer a scleral fixation in the form of a Sioni ring or a Ahmed segment or a Asia Anchor or whatever it is. Otherwise, I just put a CTR, but do it at the end, because the reason why at the end is, in the beginning is maybe difficult to put, number one. Number two is, as Sirish rightly said, you do not know how exactly it's going to go. Suppose you have a PCR or capsular rexis being cut, especially when you have a hard cataract, and then you can, it's a double trouble. You are having a CTR inside, and So that is a contraindication for putting a CTR if there's a capsulorhexis tear or a PCR. So that is the reason why we want to put it at the end. And also it will make your cortical aspiration easy when you have a CTR, when you put the CTR after the cortical aspiration.
After this. Absolutely. Vinod sir, your tips?
Yeah,
This is
same I
great.
think. The CTR should be put in the last, where the cortical cleaning become very difficult once you put it earlier. So I do it once the cataract is totally removed. Once you clear the cortex, then I have to use CTR for the cases. And
Perfect.
depending on the amount of laxation, you can use different devices.
Navneet is there. You can take
Yeah,
Zopicon.
Navneet, I was just going to ask because he
related to-
written a book on that. Navneet, your take.
Related to CTR, I think always in a simple cases, I'm telling that one CTR is not really sufficient. If you use one CTR from one direction and other CTR from other direction, it will give the complete 360-degree fantastically.
Full
That is
support.
the
Correct.
idea behind the CTR putting. Thank you.
Perfect. And if the 25 ways that you had said, Vinod Arora sir, very good, the inputs from you. I would say for the beginners, what extra tips from each of the panelists you would like to say as a go-home message? Navneet, we start with you.
Navneet is gone.
Acha, Navneet is gone. Okay,
Yeah.
Mohan, you start.
No, I think we know
Go-home messages for the beginners, I will tell you. In
Yeah.
difficult cases,
Please understand the beginners, especially, were most important. Look at the ocular surface.
yes.
They have a tendency to do a slit lamp. When you do a slit lamp examination, automatically you know straight away you go to the cornea, go to the lens to find out what is the grading of the cataract and whatever it is. You don't look at the lid margin. You don't look at the conjunctiva. You don't look at the ocular surface. Okay, I think that is a big problem because many patients are having dry eye problem post-operatively, and also the vision is not clear, especially when you're using premium lenses like multifocals and other EDOF lenses and other things. You need to take care of the ocular surface prior to surgery. Okay, we do the IPL. Some people have the LipiFlow, you have access, but otherwise, if you don't have anything, just give them lubricants. Take care of the lid margins. Very important, because please understand, if you have a bad lid margin, that can lead to even endophthalmitis. One of the common causes is a very, very bad, what you call the sick lid margin and lid margin disease, which can lead to staphylococcus infections or endophthalmitis. So kindly take care of this. I think this thing I want to give all the beginners, because in the beginning of this thing, if you end up in an endophthalmitis, your morale is completely lost. And for
Yes.
no mistake of yours. And also, I'm seeing that Roplas is one way of digging, but whenever you see lot of fluid or what is called tears in the lacrimal lake area in the middle canthus, or the patient has got discharged, kindly do a syringing. Kindly do a syringing for all these patients. Okay, and to make sure, Jignesh, I'm not sure you remember, we used to do syringing for all the patients, Shankar Netralaya, when we were close, and at that time, but they have stopped after that because it's pure laziness, I would say. But no, we do routinely for all the one-eyed patients, everything, especially when we have seeing. I mean, any patient with the discharge, stickiness of the lids, matting of the eyelashes, discharge and lacrimal lake, when there is a lot of fluid there, they may have lid laxity also, but do a syringing. Don't do a syringing prior to the surgery. Always do a syringing when they come for a checkup. That is very, very important.
Perfect.
I think
Arora
for
sir.
the beginners, for the beginners, one message is that you have to look patient as whole. Don't look at the cataract as state. Then you have to look eye as a whole. That's very beautifully explained. So look for first whether the patient has diabetes or hypertension or any comorbidities, whether the patient can lie down properly or not. These are the first things you have to know. Sometimes what happens to beginners, the patient comes, you have the scoliosis, he can't lie down and you're in a fix. So if you're prepared well, you can manage the things well. So if patient is having any respiratory problem or anything. So this is the first thing you have to know. Then you have to look on the eye as whole. You have to look on the face if there is any deformity. You have to look on the eyebrows if there is any blepharitis, if there is a meibomitis. You have to manage it. Then, of course, the dry eye comes. We have to manage it. So we have to look at the eye as a whole, not straight to the cataract. That's very, very common with the younger ophthalmologists. they don't see other things, and go straight to the look, note down the how hard is it, how soft it is, it will be easier, it will be difficult. That's not the thing. You have to look at the patient as such whole if you want to have a beautiful results. And you have to look for the expectation of the patient also. You have to understand while you're examining the patient, what is the maybe best for him or her. This is you to decide on that time only.
So
Jignesh
nice
sir,
of
we
you,
need to wind
sir.
up now.
Yeah. I just
After
say.
Navneet, yes, after Navneet, sir.
Yeah. Related to the examination, what I have done right now, it is not for beginner, for me also. I have kept the slit lamp in the operation theater premises. So just before lying down patient, I try to see especially the size of nucleus, and accordingly I set the parameters and I do the surgery. So that's very important point for everybody and most important for the beginner. Thank you.
Thank you very much. I think we are about to come to
Thank
the
you.
end of the session. To conclude the session, I am very thankful for all the faculties, including Dr. Mohan Rajan, Dr. Vinod Arora sir, Dr. Sirish Thorat, and I wish Sujata a very speedy recovery,
Thank you.
Mohan.
Yeah.
And Satanshu Mathur, I don't know why he's not been able to join, but anyway, we had an excellent session, excellent tips from all of you, and the go home messages to inculcate all these steps that you have learned from the stalwarts today. I wish you all a very, very happy Diwali and a great going for Mohan Rajan for your year, and also Vinod Arora, sir, you are also the president of IRSI. So best wishes for your tenure. Thank you very much.
Thank you. All the best for you, Jignesh.